Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time once again, you know what time it is. Friday night before a SCOPS round. It's the V8SCOPS support series, the V8s, making their way here from Sebring for round 4 of the championship. Sebring International Raceway, an absolute classic course, and it's produced some fantastic races in these cars in the past. We'll see if there's going to be more of that here tonight. Bringing it to you live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick. It's me, Reese Gardner. My apologies. It's Saturday, I've just been informed. Time is immaterial and incomprehensible, as I'm joined by Brandon stuck in the commentary box, and Jay Kennedy is behind the scenes whispering in my ear and letting me know the days of the week. Brandon, I'm back to preschool.
Yeah, good evening to you, Reese, and good evening to everyone watching us live on all the social media platforms. Really enjoying it. And yeah, we're right now in Sebring, so staying in America for our next round of V8SCOPS supports. So we go from Watkins Glen, fast and flowing, to Sebring, and it's very bumpy here as well.
Yep, down the eastern seaboard to Sebring, Florida. Former US Army airfield Hendricks, which was active during the Second World War. And after the war, some very legendary guys decided, hey, we want to emulate the Le Mans 24 Hour, so let's make a course around this disused airbase, which actually is still an active civilian airport to this day. This course was built largely out of the access roads surrounding the runways, and it's been through quite a few changes over the years, but one thing has remained constant throughout Sebring's history, Brandon, and that is the bumps. I think Sebring is just about the only racetrack in the world that keeps its surface minimally maintained on purpose.
Oh yeah, it certainly does. I mean, every time you drive this track, it's just a bump everywhere. I mean, especially down the Sunset Bend, the final corner, it is super bumpy there, and you'll see that tonight with these cars, and also tomorrow night with V8SCOPS proper. And yeah, you're right, this track doesn't change, it doesn't get resurfaced much at all, if I'm honest with you. So it just maintains that absolute like character of the track, that it is bumpy, but it's also fast and flowing as well, especially around the top.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That entire stretch from, well, I mean, I'd say the entire track has an incredibly good flow. Super fast turn 1, which can be a good overtaking opportunity if you play your cards right. Turns 2 and 3 are going to be the big choke point on lap 1. It's important to get an exit out of turn 5 and through Big Bend for the run to the hairpin. And then another passing opportunity up at Collier at turn 10, Tower at turn 13, flat out just about through Bishop and Jean de Bien. And then you go to Le Mans at turn 16, down the Ullman Straight, named for Alec Ullman, who was one of the founding fathers of Sebring, and then Sunset Bend to end the lap. Very challenging triple apex blast underneath the bridge. Well, coming into this round, a few things to talk about. This is, of course, officially round 4, but we've only completed 2 rounds of the championship, so far. We have had to reschedule the second round at Manicourt due to scheduling conflicts with the administrators, so there will be a potential date sorted soon for the running of that second round. But out of the previous round of Watkins Glen, Dylan Walker has taken the championship lead, and Dylan Gray is still shadowing him by 15 points. Matt Bailey P3 with Robbie Bradbury and Dean Alessi rounding out that top 5. We've had varying fortunes for many of the drivers in that 2019 class, but it's not the only class that we're racing tonight. We also have the 2014 V8 supercars. They are all competing for similar points here and all racing on track together, and Matt Haywood has done the best out of them so far. But it looks like we have a battle emerging between the teammates, Brandon. Aaron Gilbert and Henry King, cars 1 and 2, the team's champions from last season, only separated by 3 points for third.
Yeah, that's a very, very close championship there. But I want everyone to keep an eye on the name there in 5th. Thomas Hins had an absolutely mega run last time out of Watkins Glen, and he was absolutely flying. So he'll be interesting to see if he can make up a few more spots, keep that momentum up from the last one out there. But yeah, you're right. Matt Haywood currently leading, and there's a big close battle there between the two teammates.
Certainly is. It's a nice, simple night of racing tonight. Drivers are currently in the middle of 15 minutes of open qualifying. We're going to have a single race of 25 laps or 75 minutes, whichever comes first. Safety cars will define that. There's a compulsory 2 pit stop requirement between laps 2 and 24. Of course, with the differing size and fuel tanks, the 2019 spec cars have a tighter fuel tank restriction than the 2014 cars, and also fuel usage slightly differs between the two classes. But regardless, it's going to be a competitive one, and a lot of strategy permutations potentially to come out of this.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be an interesting one as well. And we know that how quick the 2014 cars were last time out. We're interested to see if they can keep up that sort of speed. But we did see some really close battles last time between the two different spec of cars. So even though they have different fuel restrictions, they all still provide really good and close racing. As we take a look now at car 47 flying his way around Sunset Bend under the bridge. And here is coming around the final bend into the pit lane. So gonna chuck on a fresh set of boots there. But this is now qualifying, and Aaron Gilbert currently at the top with 8 minutes to go.
New livery, new team for Matt Haywood, formerly of Sim Blacks and now part of Haywood Motorsports. Dylan Gray, also recently part of a new team. He, from last round, joined Pacific Esports Racing. And it's going to be a fun time to see how he gels with that team. Gary Watson in P10 in the 2014 cars for Good Fun Racing. Always nice to see a car or two with those sort of neon-looking headlights. And we're making our way towards that crunch point right now. We're halfway through qualifying. Apologies for the black screen there, a technical issue behind the scenes. For now, Aaron Gilbert and Henry King, 1 and 2. The 2014 cars are still looking mighty quick here.
Yeah, it certainly is. But you can see there, right there in that top 15, that little list on the left-hand side there, that leaderboard, you can see there's a good mix of 2019 cars up and down in between there, so scattered amongst them. So it looks like this could be a really close battle, particularly for a number of these cars. But I wanted to see where the 2014 cars are somehow getting a little bit more speed compared to the 2019 spec. As we heard Dylan Walker on a fast lap, flashing the headlights, trying to make his way past the slower traffic, and I don't think it's actually working just yet.
Yeah, not quite. Interesting, the pace difference between the classes here. I mean, there is a factor in that relating to driver preference. I think a lot of the drivers that have a lot of experience in the older cars, for this series, it was a 2014 spec only series before this season, and some of the best drivers in the field have gone for those older generation cars. So that explains one part of why we have 2014 cars on top. But there's also the fact that the 2019 cars are just straight up harder to drive. They have a bit more of a dependence on aerodynamics than the 2014 cars do. And they're also a bit more difficult to control on the power. I've certainly been aware of that difference in the past. The 2014 cars, you can get to full throttle pretty quickly out of the corners, and the rear end is very compliant. It's not quite the same for the ZB Commodore and the Ford Mustang.
Yeah, you certainly probably got some more experience in that than me, that's for sure. I'm not really a big driver of V8s here on iRacing. As we take a look at Dylan Walker now coming through to complete his lap with a 2:03.9. And that will currently stick him in 10th. But yeah, look, these V8s, I mean, look, two completely different class of cars. The 2019 spec and 2014 spec, of course, two completely different cars in their own right, as we said earlier. And we take a look now at onboard Daniel Stevens, the best looking sim cockpit I've ever seen. This is, I saw this last round, and I was just blown away by how awesome and how much of an actual cockpit this looks like for him.
Yeah, he's got that field of view nailed, hasn't he? It literally looks like he's in the actual car, which is insane. And we're treated to this view thanks to Daniel Stevens every few weeks, actually, here on SimSpeed TV. Not only does he compete here in the V8's support series, he also drives in the Majors series that we broadcast roughly once a month or so on a Sunday afternoon. And he's had plenty of occasions where we've been watching him on Zoom, and he also does tend to listen in to the broadcast, so maybe we just distracted him there, and that's why he ran off the track.
Probably was, but yeah. Have a look now at Aaron Gilbert, car number 1, last season's champion, Team Drink Shifters. Coming around the Sunset Bend, let's see, his fastest lap currently is a 2:02.06. Does he go any quicker? We'll see when he comes out of the last corner down the line. His teammate right behind him, and does not improve, but that is so close. And same thing with Henry King as well, does not improve on his lap time. Gotta say that's a bit of a major difference in times for Henry King and Aaron Gilbert. I mean, that's half a second behind. So I'm not too sure where Aaron's found a lot of that speed, as Matt Haywood now comes across the line for a 2:03. And Chad Lewis, the currently second for our 2019 spec cars. And okay, just trying to get around the corner without looping it. But yeah, look, this is going to be an interesting one for sure. I mean, look, it is so bumpy around here, and I think that's one thing drivers like to contend with, especially around this final corner here, as Lockhart rally all way too wide and has clipped the wall. Lucky he is right there by the pits, so he can come on in and maybe see if he can just try and just take a breather.
Yeah, definitely need one. Rob Crisdale just making a big improvement there. Gets up to 4th in class and overall with a 2:03.2. Great stuff there from the Frog Leap Juiced Racing number 808. Yeah, pit entry is going to be something that we're going to be contending with a couple of times tonight, and it's one of those points of the lap where you really got to be on your A game, because you have to compromise your run out of the final corner to get into the pits. So we're likely to see maybe some drivers having to check up out of nowhere. Running very close to the wall there was, I believe that was Joe Mahoney, who himself has improved and put himself ahead of the 2019 cars as well, up to P5. Yeah, that gap for Aaron Gilbert, as you say, is huge. And I think one reason for that is it's just Aaron Gilbert. He's the reigning champion of the series, and he really has a soft spot for that 2014 Ford Falcon. He is almost always on the pace, no matter where we go. With just under 2 minutes remaining, we'll see if Gavin Cox here can improve and get into the overall top 5.
Yeah, as Gavin Cox now comes around the last couple of bends now through Le Mans, and in the 555 India Motorcycles 2019 spec Ford Mustang, just under a minute and a half to go. He's currently leading the 2019 spec cars. And let's see what he can improve. Let's see if he can improve as he comes into Sunset Bend now. Getting around the corner there. Very, very bumpy. Got to be easy on the throttle here. You don't want to loop it. And he is... Oh, okay, so he's going to go in for another fresh set of tires. Maybe shoot off for one more lap. I don't think he's going to make it in time.
No, I think that might be the end of his qualifying run there. You will be able to complete a lap after the timer hits 0 if you're on one, but yeah, only a minute was remaining when he pulled into the pits, and a lap around here taking just over 2 minutes. So looks like it's one more opportunity for most of our field here to practice their runs into pit lane, which is going to be incredibly important at the circuit.
Oh, it certainly will be. You know, you got to picture it out to other like proper racetracks as well, where you go racing. If it's a race with pit stops, you have to be careful on pit entry. As we take a look at the number 89, and interesting little car there for Billy Rowley. Not many sponsors on the car at all, actually.
Yeah, running quite a bare scheme there, and well, he is part of KRF Motorsport, which is one of the long-standing teams in the AusNZ sim racing community, main sponsor being Kimmy's Rural Fencing. They've been around for many a year, and it looks like that's going to be an improvement there for Rowley, who, wow, goes from 8th overall to 3rd overall, sorry, up to the 2nd row for him. Brilliant stuff. Henry King not going to have an opportunity to challenge for pole there. He's going to pull into the pit lane. Martin Lipsky for Tulip Racing. See what he can do to improve on 16th overall and 10th of the 2014 cars. And we still have 2019 championship leader Dylan Walker out on a lap 2.
Yeah, he's coming around the final bit now. Looks like he's giving it a bit of a push lap, trying to see now. This is his last chance to see if he can make any improvements on the lap. A little bit sideways out the top of the corner there, coming down now to the last little section. And we'll see how nicely you can flow the car through just over that curve there. You can do that if you can keep it on that side of the not do all 4 wheels over the line. And he's beautifully dancing that car through this little section here out into Le Mans. And he's now going to put the foot down the long straightaway down into Sunset Bend. Let's see if he can improve, or is he going to look at his time and think, oh, maybe I'll save it.
Top speed about 263 kilometers per hour before he gets on the brakes for Sunset Bend, and he's sticking tight out of the corner. Well, actually, he's committing to the exit. So, car is dancing around quite a bit there over the bumps.
Oh,
it's not
no.
going to be an improvement there for Walker. He will be 4th of the 2019 cars and 11th place overall. Chad Lewis putting down one final time there, got some slipstream off Robbie Bradbury, and looks like neither of them were able to improve their position much, though Bradbury did set a new fastest lap time for himself in the session, and Lockhart Brownlee still having some trouble there with the entry to Sunset Bend. Something happening to Daniel Stevens here. I believe this is at Collier Curve, and oh man, he's having some big problems with that car. I have never seen a car spin on the grass like that.
Looks like he just got the rear end a bit loose coming into the corner. Not sure if he locked a brake or something. That was a little bit awkward for Dan Stevens.
Far from ideal, but it looks like that's going to be our field sorted, and on pole position overall is going to be Aaron Gilbert with the front row lockout for HJR Team Jinx Shifters. That's some form from years past right there for Aaron Gilbert and Henry King. Billy Rowley is going to put it 3rd overall with Matt Haywood alongside him. And then Rob Crisdale starts P5 alongside Joe Mahoney, our top 6 all 2014 cars. First of our 2019 cars is Gavin Cox from Middle Finger Racing. He's joined by Chad Lewis, only separated by 0.003 of a second there on the 4th row. Very competitive between those two. The top 10, though, rounded out by Dylan Gray and Daniel Stevens.
Yeah, looking further back to 11th place now, Dylan Walker and Lockhart Brownlee, a couple of teammates there in 11th and 12th. And we take a look back now to 13th and 14th, Colin Bruns and Hayden Cupid. For Sideways Esports, Dave Arney and Robert Bradbury will line up on the next row. 17th and 18th, Martin Lipsky and Gary Watson for Good Fun Racing. And I think that is our field. Yep.
Yeah, looks like it. We do have a couple more drivers who could have taken to the grid there. Brett Loxton did set a time in practice but didn't set one in qualifying, and I don't think he's going to be taking to the start here today. We also have Lachlan Capel and Daniel Yeaman in the server. They are race control. Dan Yeaman sorting out his penalty matrix, and thus Lachlan Capel being the safety car driver. Reminder of the format for tonight. We have 25 laps of Sebring International Raceway ahead of us, and if there's a couple of safety cars and we go time certain, the race will be capped at 75 minutes in length, or an hour and 15 minutes. There's going to be 2 pit stops required. The pit window opens at the end of lap 2 and will close at the end of lap 24. So we're going to be seeing quite a wide window of potential for pit lane, but with 2 pit stops required, there's a few ways you can go about it. You can go 3 even stints all the way to the end. You can go 2 long, 1 short, or you can jig things about a little bit. I think there's going to be some room for undercutting people, especially considering the track temperature. It is 59 degrees Celsius. That is the hottest track temperature I've seen in a long time on iRacing. The Florida sun is beating down on this concrete, and it is going to burn those tires up something fierce. We'll have to wait and see how long it lasts before the pace drops off here. As we find our way to the green flag, Gavin Cox is going to lead us away here, as it actually looks like the 2019 cars have been gridded ahead of the 2014 cars. That looks like a bit of a muck up there, but regardless, we're going to find our way down to turn 1. Cox battling with Chad Lewis, who's going to take the lead coming out of the first corner, though he is suffering some technical issues. That's not ideal there for Cox. Door may be open here for Dylan Gray to move his way into second spot, but the room is given and taken, and we will see if Gray can complete that move on Chad Lewis. A little bit of a slip there for the ERT 727, and he's still blinking his way around the circuit. That's going to be very difficult for these guys as they find their way down to the hairpin for the first time. Aaron Gilbert's moved back up to P6 overall. You can just see him further back behind these guys as they make their way through the hairpin for the first time. It's a reasonably clean start. Rob Crisdale and Aaron Gilbert making up bulk positions there off what was a very unusual start. I would have thought that the cars would have been gridded as they qualified overall, but apparently not.
Yeah, that's a very interesting look right there as to why the 2019 cars were slightly ahead of the 2014 cars. I was also looking at that as well, thinking, what are we looking at here? I thought Aaron Gilbert and Henry King qualified top 2, but yeah, you're right, Chad Lewis, unfortunately having those issues with connectivity. That's going to put a little bit of a damper on Dylan Walker and Lockhart Brownlee, who are just behind him, trying to make their way through, and that's going to put them off. But look at Aaron Gilbert here, already passed a couple of the 2019 spec cars. He's right up the rear of Lockhart Brownlee, and you can see he is absolutely flying in that number 1 Team Jig Shifters car. See if he can maybe potentially look for a drive on the inside of Sunset here. He's not too close, so it might not work. You might have to wait till maybe turn 1 on the next lap. But as the drivers now come around to complete lap 1 of this 25 lapper. Look how close he is. He's going to go for it.
Up the inside. And it looks like move complete there for Aaron Gilbert, just about. Slightly tighter line out of the final corner, but you can tell the confidence on the power is much greater for those older cars. Side by side behind, we have Dan Stevens here up the inside of turn 1. That's Dave Arney that he's just found his way past, but Arney's going to try and cut back at him here on the exit, and it looks like Joe Mahoney might have something to say about this as well. Mahoney down a position from where he started, and we're looking at potential move off the racetrack there for Stevens, but he keeps it planted nicely. So we'll see. The grid indeed was set by class, and the 2019s are considered slightly faster on average according to race control, but I'm sure in previous rounds we've had them gridded by qualifying time and not by class. So I don't know, there's probably going to be some discussions surrounding that. Regardless, what we are seeing is some brilliant runs up through the field from Aaron Gilbert, Rob Crisdale, and Matt Haywood. The car that's actually up the most positions is Brett Loxton, who has taken to the grid. He's up 9 places, up to 12th overall.
Yeah, it's an amazing start for Brett Loxton, who we did not see qualify. He did see the practice time, as you said earlier there. Reese is now on board now with the jig shifts. This car, look at how close Aaron is to looking for a move here. He's going to go up the inside. It's not going to look, and he gets the door shut. It's firmly in his face, and he is absolutely flying through here. Dylan Walker is the one that is under attack. So the jig shifters car splitting the Orbit drop bin motorsport cars. And this is looking like a real spicy battle here. I bet you Aaron Gilbert at the start probably looked at the cars ahead of him and went, oh, really? Did all that work for first, and now I'm going to make my way through as they come through Sunset Bend. He looks to repeat the move they did the previous lap. Very, very comfortable in that car is Aaron Gilbert, and it looks like he could potentially make this one stick as they come down to complete the other one. Gavin Cox still leading this race with Dylan Gray right behind, and Chad Lewis, and the move is done for Aaron Gilbert, now to fourth.
Well, pit window is officially open, and looks like we haven't seen anyone come to the lane just yet. Brett Loxton setting the fastest lap of the race, just in time to have a little bit more of a technical issue there as we keep our eyes on Billy Rowley here. He's got Rob Crisdale up ahead of him. And then back as well. Oh yeah, Hayden Cupid has gone around turn 4, and the engine is blown. So the Sideways Esports car is going to be going nowhere fast. Oh, he's going to get it rolling, but I don't know if he's going to be able to make it back to the pits.
Yeah, I just saw in the background there. The background shows someone go, sorry to cut over the top of you there, mate. It's just, oh, look at that. Big damage. No front end on that car whatsoever. And there's a lot of smoke as we look now and see in the replay. It's just coming around the corner. This seems pretty simple. And just up over the curb, and away he goes. Oh, into the tires, lifting the rear end up. That is a big oops.
Yeah, big oopsie indeed. That curb at turn 4 is certainly one that gets you if you look at it the wrong way. And it looks like Hayden's going to come to a stop there at the exit of the chicane and at the exit of the hairpin, and might be a call to race control here for a tow. We can't make it back to the pits, and the safety car has been called as a result. Now, I think it's very easy for that sort of mistake to be made, like what Cupid did. Typically around this circuit, you see the cars using quite a bit of that curb there, because you use a bit less of it, then it actually unsettles the car more than if you just cut right over it. So, yeah, not ideal for Cupid, but this is the opportunity for the majority of our field to find their way into the pits here under safety car. But Gavin Cox and Dylan Gray have decided not to do that.
Yeah, that's an interesting call. Yeah, I think there's one more in the back there that's decided not to do it, and now they're going to get slowed up by the safety car. They look at the congestion in the pit lane. Drivers are now going to come in and complete one of the two stops. And you can see there now they're all in the pit lane. Chad Lewis there. And it looks like Lockhart Brownlee is the first one to get out. So Lockhart Brownlee has jumped a couple and has managed to get out ahead of his teammate and also everyone else behind him.
Yeah, so a lot of variance in lane time there for these guys. Pit stop times were pretty standard for Brownlee, Walker and Lewis, and actually Lewis was only 0.2 slower than Brownlee in the box, but his lane time was 3 seconds longer. So what that tells me is there's been an issue for Chad Lewis either getting into or out of the actual pit stall. It has cost him some time there, but the times that we're seeing from these guys at the front of the field who have pitted, basically enough for a tire change and maybe a bit of fuel. Aaron Gilbert has gone for a 13.2 second stop, so that tells me he's put a little bit of extra fuel in the car and he's going to want to go long on this second stint.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe Chad Lewis maybe either overshot the box or just stopped short of the box. Not too sure how that happened, but also for Aaron Gilbert as well, like, did he overshoot it or did he stop short? But now we can see now they're right up the back of the top three at the moment. So Gavin Cox, Dylan Gray, and Brett Loxton have not pitted, and everyone else behind them has. So this is going to be an interesting call from them to see when they decide to come in. I'm surprised they didn't do it as soon as everyone else did.
Very curious decision by our top three. Well, regardless, they basically locked themselves into a disadvantaged strategy from this point on. You know, if you decide not to pit under a safety car, then that just piles on the pressure for you to draw out enough of a gap over the rest of the field that you can afford to take a pit stop under green flag conditions without losing your position. So Gavin Cox and Dylan Gray will have to hope that they have the pace on board those cars, but they've already been out there for 2-3 laps maybe with you know, at full pace. The tires will be cooling down under the safety car period, but they'll heat up again very quickly. Once we get to about 10 laps into the stint with these tires, they start to really fall off in terms of pace. So look for Gavin Cox and Dylan Gray to potentially fall down the field.
Yeah, certainly going to be keeping an eye on that one. But I want to also point out, look at Robert Crisdale's pit time, 30 seconds in the pit lane. That's the most out of anyone. So I wonder what's happened there, whether he's either just sat there for a long time, whether he mucked up his pit entry into the box. But that's 30 seconds, and that is a long time. But lucky it's safety car, so now he's just bunched up at the back of the field here. So I wanted to see if he's just, I'm just interested to see what he's done there, if it was a strategy call or what he's done. But fuel and tires are certainly one thing that you need to keep an eye on around here.
Yeah, I don't know how that could have been a 30-second stop for Crisdale unless he started on a qualifying fuel load and had to fill it all the way up. Well, we will put that behind us for now because the safety car is in pit lane and we're getting ready to restart this race. Gavin Cox going to lead the way here with Dylan Gray up behind him and Brett Loxton, the top of our 2014 spec cars. Remember, everyone behind them has just pitted. And some of the fastest ones are the Orbit Drop Bear machines of Lockhart Brownlee and Dylan Walker. Brownlee already putting some pressure on Loxton for third overall as they find their way into turn 3 for the 5th time in this race. Already a 5th done with this event. So keep an eye out for further dramas down here at the hairpin.
Yeah, certainly keep an eye out for that one, but I'm keeping an eye on Lockhart Brownlee and Dylan Walker, who are the Orbit Drop Bear cars. The first in the queue to pit. Those tyres will take a little while to get up to temperature, as it seems as though Aaron Gilbert in the back there trying to make a move on Chad Lewis and gets it done. So Aaron Gilbert already making some hay while the sun shines.
And he doesn't have much time to make up to Brett Loxton. Not only does he have a fresh tyre advantage, he is also just straight up super quick. But Loxton, I think, was hiding his pace a little bit. His lap time in practice was to ride home about, and we'll see if he can maintain that here in the race. Actually, I've just taken another look at the practice times, and Brett Loxton set the fastest, one of the fastest practice times of all. Obviously the track was a lot cooler in practice, so we saw some drivers setting high 201s, low 201 in fact, for Aaron Gilbert in practice. So we'll see what kind of pace they can keep up here as they run down the straight. Loxton has actually gotten past Dylan Gray, and he's going to try and make a move on Gavin Cox as well. He has dialed up the pace there in that 209 and now leads the race overall.
Yeah, and look at Aaron Gilbert in the back there, already has passed Dylan Walker, so he's already making moves as well. Once again, he knows how to drive that car very quick. He's not a champion for nothing. He was last year's champion for a reason. As it looks as now Dylan Gray has gone up the inside of Gavin Cox into one, and is slightly running wide again. Gavin Cox will come back at him, side by side. Look at Aaron Gilbert. He wants a piece of the action, and he gets past Lockhart Brownlee, so that's a beautiful move right up into 4th place overall. And now here comes Aaron Gilbert with those fresher tyres, and we'll try and look for a move past Dylan Gray and Gavin Cox as quickly as he can. He knows Lockhart Brownlee is probably going to want that place back as we take a look now down into hairpin. and we can see now he's just easing so closer to that. But Brett Loxton as well, the 209, has just pulled away a little bit of a gap. So brilliant stuff there. And we're just going to see now if Aaron can sort of make any moves stick. Is he going to try for any moves before Le Mans? There are a couple of decent pass opportunities up here. Let's see what he can do. He's right up the back. He's right up the backside of Dylan Gray. He's looking for it. He's looking for it, and Dylan doesn't want it to happen.
Certainly not. Well, look at the confidence on the power there for Gilbert. The gain that he made out of the corner there, but it's covered off by Dylan Gray coming into Jean de Bien. He's at very fast kinks on the way down to this sort of S-bend complex. Run out over the concrete, widen the entry into Le Mans and try and carry as much speed as you can across the curb. Gilbert right on the back of Gray once again as Loxton is streaking away at the front of this field. Is there anything that Aaron Gilbert can do to find his way past these 2019 Mustangs at the head of the battle for second overall? Gray up the inside of Cox, and Gilbert sees the door open. He's on his way through, out of Sunset Bend. Might even be able to have a go at Gray coming into turn one. And that little exchange has brought Lockhart Brownlee right into the fight as well.
Yeah, it certainly has. Aaron Gilbert has been making moves very well. He knows how to drive this car to its limit. But in the background, I just wanted to point out as well, Dan Stevens, I think, tapped the wall on the exit of the last corner. So we'll see what that does for him as Aaron Gilbert now down the inside, Dylan Gray. He's now up to second. Those fresher tyres are helping him, and look at Lockhart Brownlee now. Now here's a battle for the 2019 cars, and Lockhart Brownlee now, with his fresh tyres, wants to get past. He wants to get back up to the front as he now looks for a move on Gavin Cox now down into hairpin. Matt Haywood doing the same thing on Chad Lewis there in the background. Look at Dan Stevens. He's going to go with him. Oh, I think Chad's going to drop a couple of spots here. Look at Dan Stevens go for it. I think that little love tap in the walls done anything. Brilliant move by Dan Stevens. Here it is here on replay. Watch it. Little slightly. Oh, into the wall he goes, gets it a little bit airborne. And I don't think that's affected him much. He's still pushing it very well. And Gavin Cox now has lost that position to Lockhart Brownlee and looks to be losing another one to Dylan Walker. Oh, bit of a tap there on the exit. And
Matt Haywood finding his way through as well.
Yep, Matt Haywood also pushing for it as well. So I think Gavin Cox needs to just look at it now and go, listen, I think I need my new tyres. These tyres are not working for me.
Here's another view of Stevens there. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, he did rub up against the tyre barrier just a little bit. Of course, with the art refresh of Sebring a few years back, there actually used to be grass at the exit of Sunset Bend there. But with the art refresh, it was updated to how it is in the real world with just more concrete on the exit there. The drivers certainly use it.
Yeah, look at how wide they get, especially on the exit of this corner here. Look at how sliding they can get up onto the top here. Whoa! Joe Mahoney nearly puts his signature on the wall on the exit there. That was close.
Mighty close indeed. Mahoney now up 3 positions from where he started thanks to workings through the pit stop cycle. Well, Chad Lewis unable to really capitalize with that longer stop as Gavin Cox is dropping like a stone at the moment, falling behind Henry King. Dylan Gray has still been able to hold on to 3rd overall, and he's managing to keep the drop bear cars behind him. So Gray's having a much better time looking after those tyres than Gavin Cox is.
Yeah, it certainly has to be, but I was wondering if Gavin Cox doesn't try and come into the pit lane, try and slap on a new fresh set of tyres, or is he maybe hoping for a second safety car? Look at Dan Stevens here, the wheel is slightly... Gavin Cox looks like he's gone around that hairpin, and he is not moving. Has he requested a tow from race control?
I think he's just waiting for the field to move by. Yeah, looks like Cox, unfortunately, was a bit late on the brakes there. He actually got into the back of Henry King on the way into this corner. You'll see it here. Look out for Henry King in the Team Jinx Shifters Falcon, and Gavin Cox moves in, and yeah, he wasn't really making the corner there. taps King around. It looks like the 35 of Robbie Bradbury was involved in that as well. Just wrong place, wrong time for him. So potentially something going to go on in terms of race control with Gavin Cox there. Henry King now trying to keep his position in the overall top 10, but Rob Crisdale rounding him up coming out of Le Mans.
Yeah, very good move right there, coming to Le Mans with that happening there, and Rob Crisdale now right behind. As we see now, Lockhart Brownlee has gone past Dylan Gray into Sunset, and they'll come out of Sunset now, and Dylan Gray will stay on track, so we'll stay here and try and see if he can make some more moves stick. But remember, it's 2 pit stops, Reese. These drivers need to remember it's 2 pit stops, and still it is Dylan Gray, Brett Loxton, and Gavin Cox as well, who haven't made their pit stop yet. So I'm surprised they haven't even at least tried to maybe chuck on some fresh tyres, because those tyres are obviously not working for a couple of them. As you can see now, a big battle here between between the 808 here of Robert Crisdale, sorry, my bad, Gavin Cox down the lane. And it looks as though we've got a bit of a battle raging behind here as well. The 5 cars all battling for this big battle here. This is going to be awesome.
It certainly is. Well, Gavin Cox jumping into the pit lane, and I certainly don't blame him after losing all of that time. Might as well just limit the damage and get your first compulsory stop out of the way there. As the fight continues here for Henry King and Rob Crisdale, now battling for P10, and it looks like Lockhart Brownlee has succeeded in getting past Dylan Gray to lead the 2019 class. Now, can Dylan Walker, who leads the championship in that class, do the same?
Yeah, I wonder if Dylan Walker might just not try and push it too much. Remember, this is only lap 9 of the 25-lap race, and we still have one more pit stop cycle to get through. As we can see now, they're coming through into the back half of the circuit here. Brett Loxton still leads for 2 seconds over Aaron Gilbert. So Aaron Gilbert hasn't been able to close that gap down as quickly as I thought he would, given the fresher tyres. As you can see now, it looks like Dylan Gray still stuck in between of a Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport sandwich. And it looks as also Matt Haywood is up the back there looking for... Well, this is Dylan Gray looking for a move up the inside of Lockhart Brownlee. Not too sure how wise that is. Oh, someone's running way, way wide. I wonder if that was Dan Stevens. Yep, it looks like it might have been Dan Stevens. It might have gone way, way wide at Sunset Bend. Not too sure if he's having some steering drama with that Commodore of his.
Battle's still going on here between Brownlee and Gray. Dylan is not willing to let this position go, and they almost run each other off the track out of turn 1. Big contact, big oversteer, and now Dylan Gray is surely the filling in this Orbit Drop Air sandwich, with potentially a second layer of that sandwich approaching, with Matt Haywood and Dan Stevens forming the, salad and top bun of this Big Mac. Let's take a look into the hairpin to see if there's anything that can be done there on entry. Doesn't seem so. This is Dan Stevens here running very wide in the corner, as you pointed out there, Brandon. And, well, actually, he just managed to keep it out of that outside barrier. But it's so important to get the braking right for that corner. So important to get the braking right here at Collier as well, as I think that might have been a tap that Dylan Walker put on Dylan Gray there. Well held by the both of them, and well recovered from that number 52 Mustang. But now he's in trouble. Matt Haywood approaches.
Yeah, that was a bit of a tap. I think Dylan Walker might have just had about enough. Here we go. You can see on board here with the replay. Yeah, look how close he gets now as they come into Tower. And on the brakes, you get a little touch there, just to say to Dylan Gray, listen, get out of my way, please. I want to get past. And I think Dylan Gray might have to consider now doing what Gavin Cox did and go into the pit lane, get those fresh tyres on. As Brett Loxton, I'm still looking at the leaderboard, Brett Loxton still leads a comfortable 1.6 second gap. So I think the tyres for Aaron Gilbert now and all the newer tyres are going to just start wearing down a little bit more. As Dan Stevens now, even with running wide at the exit of the last corner, has still managed to keep up with Matt Haywood. So obviously Dan's really pushing it. Let's just see if Dylan Gray will come into the lane now. Or is he still going to? He's still going to go.
Yeah, I mean, like if I were in this position where I'm getting absolutely hounded by these cars, I would want to try and get to the pits and get some fresh rubber on that machine. The incident between Walker and Gray is now under review by race control, first real race control call of the race, and it is in the favour of Dylan Gray. Walker has been instructed to give back the position as Stevens and Haywood continue on their way through here. Henry King back in the pits for the second time. Looks like he'd been dealing with some damage after that incident with Gavin Cox, and I don't know if this is going to turn out too well for Henry King now, having only completed his first couple of stops, just a few laps apart.
Yeah, this does seem rather early now. As you can see, the redress is now done. So Dylan Walker will have to try that all over again. He's not wasting any time. He's going to look for it one more time. And does he get it done? Oh, more contact. A little bit wide there. And look who's in the back here. It's Dan Stevens. Look at how close this is. Oh, this is side by side. Bit of a touch there over the curb.
Oh, again, contact.
Another bit of contact, and look at who's in the back here. Who's in the back here? Like, this is Dan Stevens. He wants a piece of this, and is he going to try and get it? Not really, not just yet.
Yeah,
it was close.
Oh, Gray is still trying to keep up this place here. Almost Max Verstappening it through the corners here, and Stevens sees the opportunity open, dives up the inside of Walker at Lamont, and a little bit of a tap, a little bit of a hurry up to the number 53. Oh, this is getting very Larry here. Dylan Gray has defended these positions harder than I've seen anyone defend a position in a while.
And look at Haywood in the background. Look at Haywood there in the background. And Joe Mahoney's also going to go for a dive on Dylan Walker. Fred Loxton in the lane.
Yep.
And, but
Gray
right
doesn't
again.
follow him in. Oh dear, he's right at the
once
top.
Again is running his signature along the wall, and will get past, and is still trying to keep his position from Matt Haywood, and Dylan Walker has now gone down another spot. So sadly, I think all that battling and change of positions, I think it's not worked well in his favour.
No, well, let's get the replay once again. There's Stevens there just giving his tap there, and there was some big swerving being done behind him as well. It's quite crazy, the amount of action that we've seen in this battle for third overall, or what is now third overall, as Brett Loxton has filtered out of the pit lane here, completing 11 laps on that set of tyres there. Haywood struggling to slow it down for the hairpin in the midst of this incredible fight, which stretches all the way back to that 111 machine of Colin Bruns. Keep an eye out for Joe Mahoney here in the JTIT Race on Oz number 36 machine. Looks like he's a bit too far back to get a move done on Haywood. So both Haywood and Stevens now going to try and get past Dylan Gray, but Gray has defended hard versus Walker, in fact so hard that Walker has fallen back to 7th overall. Lockhart Brownlee is just jetting away from these guys now, and Aaron Gilbert doing the same thing. Oh dear, there's been a spin for Gary Watson, and it's involved Brett Loxton as well. Watson actually lost it into Collier, and Loxton on the fresh tyres came steaming in, had no time to react. I think that's been a big blow there to the 209's race.
Oh, that would have had to have been here. We'll replay now. Oh, Dan Stevens is around there on the live screen as well. Let's do the replay here and see what's happened here. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, bit of a lock up there into the hairpin corner, and Dan Stevens around. A quite a bit of damage there. Is that caused smoking? So lock
yeah, it is.
So
no.
Bit of a. I think there was contact with Matt Haywood, and that is just Dan Stevens now. Oh, he is not happy, mate. Just saying, that's such a shame for a good run that he's had here tonight so far in the middle finger racing car. Hopefully he'll be able to get that to the pits. Maybe get some. I don't know if he'll be able to get that car repaired before the end of this one. At least try and maybe salvage a finish.
Yeah, probably not. The problem with Stevens was, yeah, I mean, there was a bit of contact with Haywood, but it was only after Stevens had started spinning after running over the curb here. See, he turns in, the front end just doesn't respond. He catches the curb, starts spinning, and then Haywood has to swerve to take avoiding action. I think he might just have avoided contact there.
Yeah, that looks very close. I'm sure Race Control will have another look at that one just to make sure nothing happened there. But yeah, you were right. Dan Stevens, of course, did go over the curb there and actually started to lose it before Matt even got anywhere near him. And you can see now in with the pits there as we're looking out another review, 53 and 52. So that's the two Dylans, Dylan Gray and Dylan Walker, again under review for another incident.
Yeah, not ideal for the two of them. Far from ideal for Dan Stevens, who's going to be sitting in the pits for a while from here. Yeah, Dylan Walker and Dylan Gray, they certainly haven't been friends with each other around here. Gray, in fact, has just come into the pits, finally. He's completed his first compulsory pit stop of the race and re-emerging in 14th overall, but still 5th of the 2019 cars. This is going to be really interesting seeing Gray in particular, see how far he can find his way back up the field after the, you could say, strategic disadvantage of not pitting under that first safety car.
Yeah, well, now with the fresher tyres and with everyone else on slightly used rubber, we just, like you said, see if Dylan Gray can make his way up the field one more time. But currently sitting 5th in his class. So there's a replay here.
Gray here. This is his out lap on the way through Collier, and I can already see the car having some trouble getting slowed down there. I think the rears may have locked up a little bit, and Dylan only just managing to avoid getting run into by Crisdale there. There's Haywood and Walker side by side now. Fastest lap once again going to Brett Loxton, who's still further down in the field after taking his first stop under green flag conditions. The field's starting to spread out a little bit here up the top. And this is where the fighting is at. Mahoney succeeding in getting past Haywood on the previous lap. We still have Chad Lewis rounding up these two as well. Lewis, I think, is a bit of an interesting factor in this one. I'm not entirely sure where he's going to sit in all of this, because he's certainly one of the quickest of the 2019 cars, but he also had that suspiciously long pit stop time there with 13 seconds in the lane. With 36 seconds from entry to exit of the pit lane. So will that affect him going forward? Can he find some pace here and avoid getting passed by Billy Rowley, who's another car who's gained quite a bit here?
Yeah, Chad was a little loose there on the exit of the corner, and I think that's just what caused him to go back into the... he's gone a bit wide there as well. Now over the curb, Billy Rowley will make his way past. There you go. Thank you very much, says Billy. And the 111 as well of Colin Bruns also makes his way through. So Chad Lewis suffering a little bit in terms of pace, and maybe the tyres are just starting to go off. Not too sure how much wear he has on those tyres, but it looks like he might try and come through as we have a race incident between the 53 of obviously Dylan Walker and the 52 of Dylan Gray. So race incident looked at there by race control, as Chad Lewis now has come into the lane, so he's decided to jump off those tyres and jump onto another set to finish this one off.
Yeah, so coming up on 10 laps to go when they cross the line next, we see Dan Stevens' stricken car in the lane there. Lewis, he only visited a pit lane this time around. That is his second stop out of the way. And he's going to gain a bit here in the short term. He'll be hoping to undercut a couple of these other drivers. However, we'll have to consider that thanks to the high track temp, you see how much wheel spin Brownlee just had out of the hairpin there? That's exactly what I was about to talk about. This super high track temperature is really doing a number on the tyres. It has dropped a degree to 58 Celsius, but that's still way higher than any other track temp we've seen this year. Yeah,
it certainly is. The track temp obviously does make an effect here with V8SCOPS, or with any racing in general, but particularly with V8s, given how quickly the tyres can wear off there, and Lockhart Brownlee's still a little bit skatey out the corners. And we look a bit now towards Henry King, who has made a second pit stop, so he has done his two compulsory pit stops. He can just focus on the rest of the race there. Robert Crisdale right behind him. But back to your point about the temperature, it is something that needs to be noted for the drivers. You don't want to push too hard unless you want those tires to burn out. Look at that, 59 degrees is what we are dealing with right now, and that's hot.
Yeah. Also note the wind. There's barely any at all. Most we can see is about 5 k's an hour. So there's tiny little small breezes, but barely any wind at all, which means the air above the track is practically sitting still. It also means that the temperature is just going to keep building with nothing to sort of wick away that track temperature. So very difficult conditions here at Sebring today. And it's produced a very exciting race thus far, it has to be said. The battle continuing there between King and Crisdale as we check back in with Gavin Cox here. Cox going for the pits about 7 laps ago, and that was his first pit stop of the race. Dylan Gray completing his first stop of the race 2 laps ago, and he is rounding up Cox quite a bit. Was 8/10 faster on the previous lap. Gavin Cox does have the overall faster official best lap of the race. Dylan Gray is the one with the advantage here in the Battle of the Mustangs.
Yeah, it certainly has to be said. Dylan Gray was very, very quick and knew how to make those tires last until he came in for that first compulsory pit stop. As we see now, he is looking ever so closely now to the back of the 555. These two battled it out, and you call back to that first safety car. They stayed out. They were only 2 of the 3 cars that decided to stay out and not make a pit stop. And Dylan Gray made those tires work very, very well, as he's now looking to round it up as Robert Crisdale makes a move on Henry King. Gets it done nicely into hairpin. And Chad Lewis now will go around the back there as we have a car stopped in the off track there. I'm not so sure if it was just someone trying to get out the way, as Dan Stevens has brought that car back out, albeit looking a little second hand.
Yeah, so he's gotten the required repairs done on that car, and I think he's just circulating to the end now to try and get some points. How's it looking in a straight line? Not great, has to be said. Still plenty of right hand down on that number 3. So might have to bring it back into the pits in order to ensure that he can get it to the finish. You can see that it's just not responding on the front end, is it? He's pulling off there to allow Crisdale and King by. Chad Lewis is going to get by him too, as we have our raft of pit stops here from Aaron Gilbert, Lockhart Brownlee, and Joe Mahoney. So this will set them up for the final stint of the race. Aaron Gilbert with a super quick stop there. Compared to Brownlee and Mahoney. Well, I misspoke. It's not a very quick pit stop, but it's enough, and he will solidly be in the overall lead of the race once everything circles back through.
Yeah, it certainly will be. That was a pretty quick stop. But look at Lockhart Brownlee, 14.1 seconds, so a slightly quicker pit stop than Aaron Gilbert. As we take a look now at Robert Crisdale and Henry King coming around into turn 1, and there's a little bumps there on the exit. Oh, that was close there. Chad Lewis just got in front of Joe Mahoney as Joe came out of the pits and to rejoin the track. That just almost took the nose off of the Ford Falcon, and now we'll try and keep ahead of Joe Mahoney as quickly as he can.
Yeah, it was a very interesting little sequence of events there, and Mahoney on the fresher tyres will immediately respond and get past Lewis into the hairpin. We also see that Stevens has brought the number 3 back into the pit lane. Obviously, as we saw, the damage is not quite repaired to a state where the car could make it to the end. So Matt Haywood now leads the race overall. Billy Rowley has followed him this entire time. Rowley's on for a great result here if he can keep this up. We'll see what Haywood and Rowley will be able to do here, as Dylan Walker is still menacing behind them. But regardless, the 2014 cars, they just seem quicker than the 2019s in these conditions. I mean, they've almost always been the quickest around this series, which is quite curious.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that the 2014 cars are actually a little bit easier to handle, as you said earlier in the broadcast there, Reese. I think they're a little bit easier to handle, a little bit easier to get back on the power when you're coming out of corners, as we take a look at Colin Bruns there as well, also in the lane. And there you can see the slightly second-hand looking car of of Dan Stevens. I feel so bad for that, for him. He had such a good run and was running very well. But looking at the timing, top 4 cars at the moment, Matt Haywood, Billy Rowley, Dylan Walker and Brett Loxton are still to come in for their second stop. And we see now Colin Bruns is making his way back out, but also got to keep an eye on a Dylan Gray and Gavin Cox as well, who are still only at 1 stop apiece. And with 8 to go, I wonder if they might come in the next couple of laps, maybe chuck on a fresh set of rubber and try and push it to the end and see if they can make up any more positions.
Yeah, well, interesting to note that, because Dylan Gray, his stop was 19.4 seconds. Gavin Cox, 16.8 seconds. So they took quite a bit of fuel in their initial stops, these two. What that's telling me is their second stop is going to be as short as they can possibly make it. Should still be able to get tyres on the car, though, as that was, again, way too deep into the hairpin for Gavin Cox. Dylan Gray sees an empty track ahead of him as Cox is taken to the grass.
I wonder if Dylan looked really, really slow coming into the corner. I don't know if Gavin Cox was pushing it too hard or if Dylan actually had a bit of an issue to slow it down into the corner. That looked very, very close. Now Gavin Cox now has to make up all that work again. Those tyres will be a little bit dirty as well after running off, and you can see the marbles building on the outside of the track as well off the race lines. So take a look now to replay. Let's see.
Yeah, so keep an eye on Walker, on Gray, sorry. Yeah, it does. I mean, it does look like he slowed down a little bit early, but I think in spite of all that, Gavin Cox still braked way too late for the corner, and it was going to be hard for him to make it in any case. Brett Loxton's in for his second stop here. Amazing that he's held on to such a high position in the midst of all of this. Haywood in for his second stop as well. Joe Mahoney as he chases down Crosdale and King. All these drivers have already taken their second compulsory pit stop, so they are good to the end. They will filter on past Matt Haywood, who's only just gotten out of the pits behind him.
Yeah, so now Matt Haywood will now have the fresher runner. Now it has 7 laps to go. We'll get Joe Mahoney here on the back of Henry King. And just in front of them is Robert Crosdale. And these guys, like you said, have made their second stop, so they're all good. Gavin Cox has now come into the lane to make his second stop, and I would too if I just had a bit of a change the seats of the car moment coming into the hairpin, nearly get into the back of Dylan Gray. And Joe Mahoney now down to on the inside of Henry King, makes up another position.
Yeah, speaking of the hairpin, nice run for Mahoney. He has the freshest tyres of this trio, and I get the feeling he'll be making short work of getting up to the back of Crosdale. But now, up onto the provisional podium for the two of them. We're still waiting on the final stop from Billy Rowley, from Dylan Walker as well. Actually, no. My timing is... Yeah, actually, no. Yeah, Dylan Walker hasn't come in for his second stop yet. My timing has been showing me quite a few of the drivers who pitted under safety car. It didn't officially count their pit stop on my timing. So when I look at the tire stints, it only shows 2 when there should be 3. But I'll work around that as best I can. They come into the pits with 7 laps to go, and I believe that is going to be the field cleansed. Everyone having taken their final stops apart from Dylan Gray and Martin Lipsky.
Yeah, I was just going to keep it on that one as well. Dylan Gray has not come in yet, but we'll certainly see him in the pits fairly soon with 6 laps to go. And we can see now as well, Joe Mahoney now trying to work his way onto the back of Robert Crosdale. But look who's behind Henry King there in the back there. Matt Haywood on his fresh set of rubber is very, very close as we see Dylan Walker and Billy Rowley coming out of the pits. Their stops completed, so now they are all serviced and done, and they can focus on to the end of the race here. Oh, but wide there for Joe Mahoney. Completely misses the the corner, and will now try and get back into position here. You can see on board now with Matt Haywood with that slightly fresher rubber compared to the blokes in front of him. See if he can make up any positions with that fresh rubber before it starts to wear out. 6 laps to go here. Anything can happen.
Down into the hairpin. Try and straddle the curve as best you can. Maybe kiss the gravel just a little bit on the way out, but not too much. These cars, of course, have lots of different differentials and 600 plus horsepower going through those rear wheels. So any loss of traction will result in a mighty spin. Colin Bruns having to make way there for Brett Loxton, who's continuing to charge his way up. Mahoney wide out of Collier in the left-hander thereafter, bringing King and Haywood right into the midst of it. Haywood with the freshest tyres of anyone in the top 6 at the moment. He'll be all over the back of Henry King to try and take advantage of that little mistake there for Joe Mahoney.
Yeah, very big mistake for Joe Mahoney there. Not too sure what he was trying to do there. A little bit of a lose there, so just uses the curve a little bit. Gets a little bit of a lose and manages to get it back up without losing any positions there. And already a bit of a gap now to Henry King. As you can see now, Matt Haywood now with that fresh set of tyres on will try and look for a move up the inside into Sunset. He hasn't pulled out yet, so I think he might just be waiting a little bit. But as you can see now, Joe Mahoney, oh, never mind. I stand corrected. Matt Haywood has gone for a dive of the inside of Henry King and has made it stick. Look at that, up another position. So Matt Haywood now 4th for the 2014 spec cars as Dan Stevens back out once again, and let's hope that I think he's gone in there to get all the repairs done so he can now circle around for the last 5 laps and try and get some points.
Yep, he spent 8 minutes in pit lane there, did Daniel Stevens, and you could see as the car came out it was completely refreshed. So fortunately, middle finger number 3 has been fixed. So see what Stevens can do from here. If there's problems for anyone up ahead, potentially he might be able to make up another position, but it has to happen in the next lap or so, otherwise he's going to be stuck there in 18th place. He'd have to make up, as I say, about 8 minutes on the next car in order to get that done. Brett Loxton now past Billy Rowley and up into 9th overall, 6th of our 2014 cars. Dylan Gray still out there, but he won't be very satisfied with how this race has gone. We're still waiting on Gray to take his final stop here, and he'll have until the conclusion of the 24th lap to get that done.
Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on that one and see when he decides to come on into the lane, make that second stop, or else he will not be classified. So he's got to be careful of that. As Matt Haywood now, beautiful send around the corner there, coming up now onto Joe Mahoney. And Matt Haywood really using those fresh tyres to good use. He knows how to look after them as well. And we can see now coming down into Sunset. So Robert Crisdale's just sitting here a bit comfortably in what is currently 3rd place. So 3rd overall for Robert Crisdale if he can hold this one off. And Matt Haywood now coming to Sunset now. Beautiful entry there. Looking onto the rear of Joe Mahoney. Wants to get past, wants to make up some positions. Maybe potentially snag a podium here.
He did have a little snap on the way out of the corner. Haywood's been really good out of Sunset Bend. The whole reason he got that move done on King in the first place on the previous lap was he straightened out the car earlier, and he was able to get some great momentum on the exit. Chad Lewis, meanwhile, getting absolutely swamped by Dylan Walker round the outside. Walker has tyres 5 laps fresher than Lewis at this point in time. So this is how he got it done. Again, up the inside of Sunset Bend, it becomes the outside for the first corner, and this is a really good passing opportunity, despite it being such a quick turn. Gray was just able to carry so much momentum around the outside there. Lewis, of course, wanting to give him the space there, but he might have rubbed up against the apex wall as well.
Yeah, might have. That looked pretty close there. That was an absolutely brilliant move there by Dylan Walker, now up into 2nd for the 2019 spec car, so 2nd in class. Good job for Dylan Walker there. So it's a orbit drop there, 1-2 actually in the 2019 class. So that's going to be a good result for them here tonight. As Joe Mahoney now looking for a move on Robert Crisdale. Doesn't want to make it stick just yet. He's going to have to get this one done as he decides to take a bit of a shallow exit out of the corner. And it's going to be a drag race. He gets past it, but Matt Haywood's going to go with him. And I'm not too sure if Matt's going to try and dig for a move himself. That is pretty close here. Nope, he hasn't got it done yet, but he is a lot closer to Joe Mahoney. And we'll see if he can make another move stick here as he also goes a bit over the curb. You can see him bouncing over the inside curb at Le Mans. And it is just, look how close he's getting there. He's just getting there. Look, poke the nose out a little bit. Looking for a bit of a move. Playing games. That is such good driving by Matt Haywood there. And Joe, oh, hang on.
He's going to do it again.
Now, there we go. Gets on the inside, and it's going to be a drag race. And just in front of these guys is Lockhart Brownlee.
Oh, certainly. Side by side on the way into turn one. Can Haywood do the same thing that Walker was able to do on Lewis? Not quite, but he is going to cut under on the exit of the corner, get the inside for turn four. Mahoney's going to have to give him space on the way in. Turns in, just leaves a car width of space. And Haywood wasn't able to complete the move by the time they got out of the corner, so has to compromise his line into turn five as well. Big oversteer on the way out for Haywood. And that is a big loss of traction. Mahoney will instantly fight back here. I'm expecting Haywood to defend into the hairpin. He does. He sticks to driver's right. Leaves just enough space on the outside there for Mahoney to get in. But Haywood will keep the lead of this battle.
Yeah, certainly kept that one in as well. And Joe's not going to give this one up just yet. But he's got to realize Matt's got fresher tyres than he does. So there's going to be a big move there as Joe is not looking to give this one settled in. But look who's behind them. Henry King is also going to look for some moves now. He's up on the back of Robert Crisdale now. So this is just turned into a battle for between four cars for second.
And we're being told that this car has huge pace here right now. Brett Loxton caught them up by 1.5 seconds on the previous lap. So the more these guys battle, the greater an advantage Brett Loxton has. There's going to be 2 laps to go when they cross the line next, and Brett Loxton is about 3.5 seconds behind these guys. So he'll be right on the back of them on the final lap. Question is, will he be able to get it done?
Well, if these top four here keep squabbling, it could very well happen. Joe Mahoney up the inside of Matt Haywood now. He wants that position back. He's going to pull what Matt Haywood has been able to do in the last few laps. Matt Haywood run very wide there and will possibly lose another one to Robert Crisdale, who got a much better exit there. We'll try and look for a move on the inside of one. Look at Matt Haywood defending for his life. And we'll come on through. We need to keep an eye on Brett Loxton there in the background, who is looking very fast at the moment. And as you said, if these guys keep battling, I think Loxton's going to come in there and spoil the party there with 2 to go. It's going to be a close one.
Yeah, Brett Loxton's lap there was a 2:04.4. Henry King a 2:05.6, 1.2 seconds faster. And we talk about Joe Mahoney at the front of this battle, a 2:06.1. That is a solid 1.5 seconds slower than Loxton in the background there was able to manage. Well, it seems like they've sorted themselves out for now, though Mahoney does run a little wide out of the hairpin there. It'll give half an opportunity to the 47 of Haywood again here at Collier. Matt Haywood has been one of the most active drivers in this race. He's been in the midst of so many fights here, and the defense for Mahoney has worked out for him there. Parked it on the apex to stop Haywood from getting the advantage.
Yeah, this is looking very close here as well. I'm seeing the last little bit of lap times there for the last lap. Brett Loxton fastest than these 4 guys. These 4 are still squabbling for second place overall here in this, for second place in class for this race here. And Matt Haywood now wants that position back from Joe Mahoney. If these guys keep squabbling, keep an eye on Brett in the background. And Matt Haywood now looking for a move on Joe Mahoney, whilst Robert Crisdale is looking for a move on Matt Haywood. And this is going to be a big battle there. White flag comes out. Aaron Gilbert starts the final lap, so he will lead us around one last time. As you can see now, look at Matt Haywood looking for a move on Joe Mahoney. Henry King is looking for a move on Robert Crisdale. So we could get a bit of a 2-for-1 special here into sunset. And it's not going to work out just yet. And
Yeah,
I
not
think
for any of them.
not for any of them at all. But look at Brett Loxton there. He's hunting. He wants something over this.
There's Crisdale defending from King into turn 1. Just 6 kilometers of racing left to go for these guys. And for now, looks like Crisdale will be safe versus King. He's putting his car in all the right places. Oh, and King just wasn't able to turn in for turn 4 there. He'll maintain the momentum, but regardless, it's going to be a difficult problem for him to get up the inside of Crisdale at all here. His teammate Aaron Gilbert all the way up in P1. He has got about 20 seconds worth of gap here on Lockhart Brownlee. That's an incredible advantage for our reigning champion and leading the 2014 cars. Brownlee executing his first pit stop brilliantly, was able to make the moves where it mattered, and he himself enjoys about 2.4 seconds over the battle between Mahoney, Haywood, Crisdale and King. Brett Loxton almost to the point where he'd be on the back of Henry King, but I think he'll only just pick up slipstream on the Ullman Straight coming into this final lap. But one more corner to go here for Aaron Gilbert at the front of the field. And this is the Aaron Gilbert I'm used to. He had some problems this year. He had some problems last year as well, though he still won the championship. This is the form from Aaron Gilbert that I have been used to. Just sheer domination from the Team Jinx Shifters #1 Ford Falcon. Aaron Gilbert winning V8SCOPS supports here at Sebring. And we have to wait all the way to the entry of the final corner to see our 2019 class winner, Lockhart Brownlee, rounding the final corner and giving us a little bit of a slide on the way out as well. Supremely in control despite having his fair share of issues keeping that car straight. Joe Mahoney finishes 3rd overall and 2nd in the 2019 class, managing to get the gap on Haywood at the final part of the race. Crisdale, King and Loxton rounding out your top 7, and well, Dylan Gray, it looks like he still has not taken that second pit stop, unless my timing is telling me something different. Gray is certainly having some trouble with the rear end of that number 52.
Yeah, it doesn't look like on my timing either. Dylan says, oh, he's had a bit of a lose there coming out of the right-hander, but yeah, Dylan Gray has not made that second pit stop, so unfortunately I think it'll be a bit of a penalty for this guy, for Dylan Gray, not making that second stop. As you can see now, Lockhart Brownlee trying to do a bit of a celebration there, first in 2019, good on him, and you can see Dylan Walker there wants to try and join in on the fun.
Indeed, good job from Orbit Drop Bear Motorsport, as things seem to have gone a bit awry there for Dylan Walker and Chad Lewis, who finished in that order to round out our podium in the 2019 class. So results for the 2014s, 23 seconds the gap for Aaron Gilbert over Joe Mahoney, with Haywood, Crisdale and King rounding out your top 5. Brett Loxton able to finish in 6th place, just managed to get within a second of King at the start-finish line. Colin Bruns, Billy Rowley, Dave Arney and Martin Lipsky will round out our finishers in the 2014 class. Unfortunately, Dan Stevens was not able to make it all the way through the race without his fair share of issues. He will be classified down in 12th behind Gary Watson, who finished a lap down. Stevens losing 7 laps thanks to his damage. Lockhart Brownlee wins the race in the 2019 spec cars. Dylan Walker will finish in 2nd place, with Chad Lewis rounding out the podium there. Good drive from all of them. Robbie Bradbury and, well, Dylan Gray. He crossed the line in 5th, but he didn't take his second compulsory stop, so he won't be classified. That elevates Gavin Cox up to P5, with Hayden Cupid, Matt Bailey and Brendan Murdoch. Well, Bailey and Murdoch did not even start the race here, and Cupid brought out our one and only safety car of the event. The next round, of course, Brandon, is going to be at Detroit Belle Isle. And I always look forward to seeing this brilliant street circuit hosting a V8SCOPS event. The walls are close at all times. It's got a concrete surface, much like Sebring, and it's just as bumpy.
Oh yeah, it certainly is. And my experience with commentary here on iRacing, first round I ever called was here at Detroit, and it wasn't. It was a little BMW event, so should be interesting to see how it goes with V8s next time around on Friday, the 30th of May. I'm looking forward to it.
I certainly am too. We'll wait and see if any of the drivers will join us for a chat. It looks like we have Lockhart Brownlee, who's going to join us here for an interview. And, well, we send our congratulations to you, Lockie. That was Supreme Drive in the Orbit Drop Bear 125. Very tough conditions here today. That's absolutely blazing track temperature.
Yeah, it was definitely hot. Hotter than I expected it to be. But yeah, I mean, we survived. I think we pretty much won that on strategy, to be honest. That early safety car jumping in and be able to get one of the CPSs done early on. Yeah, no, it was a good race though.
It certainly was. You and Dylan Walker were certainly very heavily involved with Dylan Gray, who seemed very intent on defending what positions he could, having not taken to the pits under the safety car. Did you find that that the car was? How was it handling towards the end of the stint? Because, we mentioned the warm track temperature, but Sebring is also a track where, the car needs to be set up in a certain way to deal with these bumps.
Yeah, it was a bit rough towards the end of both the stints on the tyres. I tried 50-50ing the tyre stints, so after the safety car, I did, I don't know how many laps, about 10, and then another 10 or so, give or take a few, I guess. And yeah, because in the final 2 laps of both of those stints, it was really getting rough on the tyres, and you'd hit a bump here, and it would give you a little bit of wheel spin, and you just bleeding time. But I mean, I had enough of a gap to make it work, which was nice. But yeah.
Well, congratulations once again on winning the 2019 class here today at Sebring, Lockhart. Is there anyone that you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone over at the team. Sam Blacklock for providing the setup. That's great. Yeah, Hybrid Simulations, and Cozy Engineering, obviously Revolution Race Gear on this car. We need to update this livery, funnily enough. And yeah, obviously our team for giving me the setup and all that. So yeah, and you guys for running the event and streaming this. So thanks for that. Yeah.
Lockhart Brownlee winning the 2019 class here today, and Brandon has managed to catch up with Aaron Gilbert, who won overall.
Yeah, Aaron, brilliant race tonight. You did absolutely well. You've certainly found some pace with that 2014 car. You seem very comfortable with it. But how was that for you? I mean, that was some really good racing.
Yeah, it was awesome, really. I didn't expect the grid to be formatted the way it was, but it was interesting trying to pass the 19 car because they were better in a straight line than us, but they were a bit worse in the corners. But yeah, it was really good racing, and everyone that I passed kept really good racecraft, so it was good.
Yeah, we certainly were confused up here in the comms box as well as to why the 2019 cars were ahead of you guys when you clearly had a brilliant fast lap in qualifying. But those battles there, especially once the safety car came out, you chucked on a fresh set of rubber and you made it work very, very well and very quickly.
Yeah, after qual, I knew we had a fast race car, so yeah, after that first safety car, I just knew I had to be somewhat patient because I knew if I pick my right points, I'll get past them, no worries. So I was able to do that, and yeah, then just build a gap really.
Oh, absolutely brilliant! Oh, absolutely brilliant stuff there, Aaron. Before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank?
I want to thank Jinx Shifters, at the team at Henry James Racing, all our other sponsors as well on the car, and I'll thank Brett for working on the setup with me this week. It was a rocket ship, so I'm very, very happy.
No, awesome stuff. And congratulations on the win tonight. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Aaron Gilbert will celebrate another victory and some massive points out of this round at Sebring. Of course, we will wait until the end of the month to see Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle play host to round 5 of the V8SCOPS support series, and it is actually on a Friday next time, so hopefully I don't get it the other way around and say this Saturday night at the top of the show. Brandon, regardless, hope to see you there as well. It's going to be fun.
Oh, certainly will be. I'm really looking forward to Detroit Belle Isle. I wouldn't miss it.
Me either. Hope none of you do as well, watching out there on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick, whatever platform you come from. We appreciate your viewership here on SimSpeed TV. I'm Reese Gardner, with Brandon stuck alongside me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons and bringing you these live pictures. We'll see you next time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.